Okay, in this lesson we're going to look at how to deal with fractions that just randomly show up in equations. And there's lots of ways to do this with common denominators, by just adjusting things proportionally. And for me, as a teacher, it seems easiest to convey to students the way to just make these go away. Now, we can't just make them disappear randomly. We have to make them disappear proportionally, which means everything has to get big enough that those fractions are now whole numbers. Okay, now what we really need to do is just find, if you see fractions show up in an equation, I want you to look at all the denominators that are there. In this case, we have a 2 and a 3. Everything else, remember, just has a 1. It's still a fraction, just has a 1 there. Now, what's a number that 2 and 3 both go into? A bigger number. And most of you are going to say, oh, 6. Now, that's great. You found a common denominator that works for both of those fractions. What you're going to do is take that number and multiply it on the right side and on the left side. Okay, now I know that may look more complicated initially, but what it's designed to do is terminate the fraction. So the fraction should no longer be there, but the whole equation should still basically mean the same thing. So let's look at this. If I were to take 6 times 1/2 x, 6 times 1/2 is 3, so I get 3x. 6 times 4 is 24. On the other side, 6 times 1/3 x is 2x, and 6 times -7 is -42. Now, this equation right here looks a lot more user-friendly, but it means the exact same thing as our original equation. It's just everything is proportionally bigger by the same amount, by the same factor. Now, let's see how we would solve this thing. Well, I'd probably subtract 2x over to this side, just because it looks like it's easiest. So I get 1x plus 24 equals -42. I almost forgot my negative there. I'm going to subtract 24 from this side. Now keep in mind, when I'm subtracting a negative from a negative, I get more negative. So I get x equals, okay? And if I'm going to get more and more negative, this is going to be a very big negative number. It's going to be -66. Okay. And there's my answer. Okay, now that number's fairly big and really negative. That's okay. Sometimes you get answers that are fractions or decimals or gigantic numbers or really tiny numbers. Doesn't matter. Just follow the math. Okay, and the math will get you there. So we're going to refer to this method right here as the terminator method throughout the year. It's going to come up every once in a while where you see a fraction, you just want to get rid of it, terminate it. The terminator method means I need a common denominator that works for each fraction, and I just multiply it through to every single term, and I'm good.